former king of Albion, you stand accused today of crimes against the kingdom and its people. Those who brought you to justice will now speak.
There's not a soul alive in the kingdom who hasn't suffered for his glory, and plenty who've died for it. I says, let him have some death of his own.
Look, I'm not one for lopping people's heads off, but we saw Major Swift executed like it was a bloody circus act. He deserves nothing less as far as I'm concerned.
But aren't we better than that? Isn't that why we fought to be here now? I've seen what Logan has done to this city. People starving to death, children forced to work. But killing him now won't solve anything.
It is not my place to decide his fate, but his betrayal condemned many of my people to death. He promised us salvation, and then left us to face the darkness alone.
I had good reason to break that promise, and I had good reason for the crimes you claim I committed. The day I returned to Albion, I received a visit from a blind seer, Teresa, our father's guide. She showed me the future of this kingdom. The darkness in Aurora is coming here, bringing death, destruction, the end of our way of life. The sacrifices I had to make, I did them to protect Albion. If a few had to suffer, it was to build an army. If a few had to die, it was to save a country. I have spent years preparing for this attack. Let me stand by your side now, and all my soldiers will be yours to command. Let us face the coming darkness, together.
If this is true, if it's really coming here, we are all in grave danger.
You have the power over life and death, brother. Now choose.
Your brother's fate.
This is not the time for revenge. We need your help, Logan.
The king has made his decision. Logan's life will be spared.
I know you will never forgive me for the things I've done. You told me so once, remember?
Of course I do.
But what matters now is that we defend our land. The castle is yours, and so is the throne. I'm glad to be rid of them.
Setting the tax rate for the coming year. As you probably know, your brother was taxing the people rather heavily, and some say that this has led to poverty, starvation, and other societal ills. You have 3 clear choices, Your Majesty. 1, lower the tax rate, which one could argue would help the poor and the hungry, but would also leave the treasury in a miserable state. 2, maintain Logan's policies. Not a popular move with the people, but moderately popular with the treasury. And 3, and don't let my enthusiasm influence you in any way, raise the taxes even further. True, many will suffer in the short term, but we will be able to protect the kingdom and run our fingertips over vast amounts of gold in this very room. What will it be, Your Majesty? Very well, Your Majesty.
Oh, happy day! His Majesty, the King of Albion, graces us with his radiant presence. I knew last time we met that you would emerge victorious from such public sibling rivalry. And now, here I am, to assist you in filling your coffers till they are fit to burst. What better way to begin your reign than by reinstating one of my most successful policies? There is no greater waste than the idleness of our city's youth, but my employment scheme guarantees children of all ages will have something to occupy them, whilst ensuring our factories are properly manned.
It's just monstrous. Don't listen to him. You promised you would end child labor. Remember that promise now.
And what would you have us do with the snotty little indigents?
The only way Bowerstone is going to climb out of the gutter is through education. Nothing is more important to our future than that. Turn this factory into a school. Give the children of this city the chance they never had.
A school? Well, that's an original thought. Well, if you'd like to be known as a pauper monarch, then by all means, listen to her. Reaver Industries will abide by your decision.
The factory will become a school.
Thank you. We can really start changing people's lives now. This will be an Albion worth fighting for.
I shall begin the necessary modifications at once. Welcome to Reaver Industries Learning Center, Bowerstone Industrial's first ever school. You can now feel secure in the knowledge that your children can become the well-educated automatons you always wanted them to be.
Today, you will decide what is to be done with the Bowerstone Old Quarter, site of the battle for Albion. Paige will offer her proposal. Reaver shall stand against her.
You may speak.
Your Majesty, our victory came at a great cost to the city. You vowed to fight poverty, but our actions have made the problem worse. You must act now. I ask that the old quarter be rebuilt, and its former residents rehomed. You wouldn't just be helping those in great need. You'd be sending a message to your people. They're scared, Your Majesty. Let them know they can count on you.
Your Majesty, the old quarter was indeed devastated by your glorious triumph, but as its name subtly implies, it was old. The cost of rebuilding the area would be a colossal waste of money, and the people who called its decrepit shambles of streets and houses their home are better off without it. Besides, one must question what they have to offer our society. Why build homes for the inept and the unskilled? I recommend you reject Paige's proposal and keep the money for more deserving endeavors.
It was our actions that caused the devastation, Your Majesty. But the final decision rests with you.
We destroyed the old quarter. It's only right we rebuild it.
The king has reached his decision. The old quarter shall be rebuilt, and its former residents will have their homes returned.
Thank you, Your Majesty. This will be a very popular move.
I suppose there may be something to be gained by rebuilding part of the city. It shows our sense of industry has not yet been dampened. Very well, Your Majesty. Despite the current climate of fear and great national need, Reaver Industries has once again struck a blow for the honest man on the street. The sad sight of the decayed and war-torn old quarter is no more. We are proud to present the new old quarter.
Our very first order of business might have a bearing on our financial situation. The time has come to decide the annual town guard budget. As you can imagine, the people like to complain about crime and the lack of safety on our streets and are calling for more guards than your brother was ever willing to pay for. You have 3 choices, Your Majesty. Leave the budget as it is. After all, the people have grown accustomed to murder, theft, and contraband. Increase the budget and fill the streets with soldiers keeping the peace. A rather costly solution. Or take a more considered approach by lowering the budget. For what is the point of a safe, well-policed kingdom when it is too poor to protect itself from certain annihilation? The people will be delighted, Your Majesty. But will they thank you when they are dead? Not unless they are turned into some sort of awful zombie creatures. That isn't what is going to happen, is it?
Today you decide on the decor of the castle. Two of Albion's greatest interior designers have come to present their suggestions.
You may speak.
Your Majesty, I am Herman Worthy, and I have a design in mind that will blow your little royal socks off. Imagine a celestial scheme capable of lifting the shadows that haunt these halls. A fabulous balance of serene hues that announce to the world, I am a strong, virtuous leader. Hear me roar. But also, look how pretty my home is. You are an enlightened king. Let the heart of your castle be enlightened too.
Celestial? Serene? Pretty? Do you wish to be known as a ruler or as a fool? I am Sybil Maleficent, Your Majesty, and I can tell you that people respect what they fear. This castle should be a fortress of dread. I propose that we flood the rooms and corridors with blood, or at least a suitable paint substitute. Let all those who look upon this palace know terror, whether they be your subjects or your enemies.
It may seem trivial, but appearances can affect the opinion of the entire kingdom. The choice is yours, Your Majesty.
I wish this to be an enlightened castle.
Oh, fabulous, Your Majesty, fabulous! Your castle will be a vision of purity.
And what's more, fashion and good taste must choke down their nausea.
Today you decide on the future of Aurora, Your Majesty. Kaelin will speak for her people. Riva will dispute her cause.
You may speak.
I am here to seek the protection you promised. It is too long since my people felt safe, or knew of life without suffering. We were honored to join your fight to claim Albion. Now it is time we joined your kingdom. Do what your brother failed to do. Help us to rebuild Aurora, and protect it as you would your own land.
There is nothing so noble as embracing other cultures, and I, for one, could not be happier to count Aurora as part of Albion. But surely they must work for that privilege, and I happen to know just how to put them to good service. There is an abandoned mine in the Auroran desert that holds enough materials to benefit the whole kingdom. Let us employ Kaelin and her people to gather what resources there may be. That can be their payment.
You are talking about forced labor.
Well, let's not get bogged down in semantics. It's a fair transaction.
I know you will not break your oath. You understand what we have been through.
The choice is yours, Your Majesty.
I will keep my promise. Aurora will become part of Albion, and its people will be our equals in every way.
The king has spoken. Aurora shall be rebuilt as part of Albion, and equal to every other part of the kingdom.
Thank you, Majesty. You have proven to be a man of honor. Aurora is proud to stand at your side.
Welcome to the new and improved Aurora, an oasis of friendship, camaraderie, and many other lovely things. Visit the city that Riva Industries rebuilt from sand, stone, and corpses. Enjoy the sunshine, the odd local customs, and the heavy soldier presence. Aurora, a light blooming in the darkness.
It's more beautiful than I dared to imagine. And heavy, too. Our experts estimate it's worth a small fortune. Of course, now the question becomes, what do you wish to do with this fine stone? Shall I deposit the money from the sale into the treasury? Or perhaps you would prefer the funds were channeled into, let us say, a more personal account? A truly selfless act. I am constantly in awe of your generous and noble spirit. Putting the safety of your people before your own reward. Bravo, Your Majesty. Bravo. I would like to discuss the thorny issue of child benefits, which were abolished under your brother's rule. There are vocal elements within the community who are clamoring for us to bring it back. In the interests of the treasury, and of the long-term welfare of the people, I have a counter-proposal. It's somewhat radical, but rather brilliant, if you don't mind me saying. We charge people for every child they have. This would keep the population low, but more importantly, the treasury high. Is it really fair to bring new life into such an uncertain world? And won't that gold go to help the children who have already been born? Of course, you may also choose to keep Logan's policies. The matter is entirely in your hands. Very well, Your Majesty. The breeders amongst the rabble will be ecstatic, I'm sure.
This hearing concerns the future of the Bowerstone Shelter and Orphanage. Paige will speak for the disenfranchised people of the city. Riva will dispute her cause.
You may speak.
Your Majesty, the shelter has long been the only refuge for the homeless, the poor, and the orphaned. And until we can change the whole world for the better, it will continue to be their only hope of survival. Isn't it time we held out a helping hand to those who need it most? The shelter is underfunded and the building has fallen into disrepair. Invest in the shelter and orphanage, and perhaps we can begin to create a better future for Albion's forgotten people.
I could not agree more. The city and its people are in dire need. But it is not charity they require, it is love. I propose we use this dilapidated building to help both them and ourselves, for love and money have always gone hand in hand. Let us inaugurate Bowerstone's first brothel.
A brothel?
Brothel, bordello, whorehouse. The name is unimportant. What matters is that the people get the love they need, and we get their money.
Yes, it's for Your Majesty to decide. Refurnish the shelter and orphanage, or convert it into a house of ill repute.
The poor of this city have suffered enough. We will renovate the shelter and orphanage.
The Bowerstone shelter shall be refurbished at the Crown's expense.
Thank you, Your Majesty. You've done the right thing.
As you wish, Your Majesty. The parentless tykes and their destitute friends shall have a palace to call their own. Are you a beggar, too lazy to own your own clothes? Or perhaps an orphan, aching for a bowl of gruel? Then come to Riva Industries Shelter and Orphanage, where you'll find food, beds, clothes, and even new parents. No matter who you are, we care, even if you don't deserve it.
Today, you will deal with a pressing environmental issue. The disposal of the city's waste. Riva will offer his proposal. A member of the Morningwood community will stand against him.
You may speak.
Your Majesty, I'm sure you will have noticed a certain aroma permeating the city of late, even more nauseating than usual. I fear it is not merely the stench of the underprivileged. Bowerstone is beginning to have a serious waste disposal issue. We require an inexpensive and efficient solution, and I believe I have hit upon one. Now, currently, part of our waste is being disposed of in the Morningwood Marsh. With very little effort, Riva Industries could redirect all of the Bowerstone sewer system to flow directly into that region. As you know, it's a desolate place with no financial or cultural value to the kingdom. There could be little discussion as to the logic of this decision.
Hang on, this isn't right. Not right at all. We're all children of the soil. It's in our hearts, it's in our blood. It's under our fingernails. What I mean is, we're all equal when it comes to dirt, like. From dirt we come to dirt we go, yes? We who reside in Morningwood have as good a claim to being clean as anyone. And what of Morningwood itself? Its nature spirits, its woodland elves, and water fairies. Do they not deserve freedom from pollution too? Don't destroy paradise with your urban dregs, man. Channel the waste. Be one with the cycle of life. You have all these, like, factories and stuff, don't you? Turn one into a, you know, what do you call it? One of those things, a sewage reclamation facility. Right on.
What shall you decide, Your Majesty?
Morningwood is to be left unspoiled. We will find other ways to deal with Bowerstone's sewage problem.
The king has spoken. Morningwood shall not be used as a waste site. The sanitation committee will look into safer alternatives.
Groovy. You are like a majestuous eagle, Your Majesty. You are in touch with your inner innards. Granny Nature thanks you from, like, the bottom of her heart.
A pity. I must admit I was rather looking forward to breathing fresh air, but I'm sure Your Majesty knows best. There is nothing as important as the health and hygiene of our citizens. As such, Riva Industries is delighted to announce the opening of the Bowerstone Sewage Recycling Facility, because there can be no affluence without effluence.
You haven't lost your touch. I'm surprised his men were foolish enough to fight you.
Now, truth be told, my superlative intellect notwithstanding, it would appear this is not, in fact, the specific cell I so confidently referenced earlier. The one with the secret exit has 2 beds. All right, you have prevailed, Your Majesty. I concede. However, I entreat you to entertain a certain proposal.
You have nothing to offer, Ferret. It's over.
That pronouncement is objectively devoid of merit. I happen to have on my person a substantial quantity of currency. Let me go free, and the money is yours.
As far as I'm concerned, you can stay in there and rot. But that's for the king to decide.
You royal miscreant! This grievous malefaction shall be rewarded with equally grievous retribution.
The treasury is simply bursting with wholesome, nutritious gold. I sometimes spend hours staring at this glorious accomplishment. Our wealth surpasses all expectations. I must congratulate you, Your Majesty. But the kingdom demands your attention once more. The time has come to make a decision on Albion's drinking laws. Under Logan's rule, our citizens are restricted in the amount of alcohol they can purchase per day. As you can imagine, this has proved a rather unpopular measure. And yet many respected members of the community think the law does not go far enough. They would like alcohol consumption wholly abolished among the commoners. They feel, rather reasonably, that it leads to improper behavior and raucous public spectacles. These concerned nobles are willing to pay handsomely for the change in policy. Meanwhile, the commoners themselves would like the restrictions completely lifted, claiming they infringe upon their freedom and their rights. You cannot please everyone, Your Majesty, but you must make a decision. As you wish. Let the streets be filled with poor, drunken revelers. Perhaps it will take their minds off their impending doom.
Today you decide on the status of the Brightwall Academy, Your Majesty. Samuel will speak for the town and its scholars. Riva will dispute his cause.
You may speak.
Your Majesty, it was your father who opened the doors to Albion's greatest seat of learning. Under his rule, knowledge and culture flourished, and so did the people of Brightwall. I ask only that you return to the wisdom of those days. Your brother closed the academy down, but it is in your hands to restore it.
There is no greater proponent of the arts than myself, and I celebrate knowledge in all its forms. But our people are frightened and confused. The last thing they need is knowledge. Allow them the benefit of ignorance. Let only those who are truly prepared make use of the academy. The elite of our society will pay handsomely to indulge in erudition.
But only the rich will be able to afford to learn.
Precisely. Why give wisdom away when one can charge for it?
What do you wish to do, Your Majesty?
The Brightwall Academy will be open to all who wish to learn.
The Brightwall Academy shall be reopened, and Albion will once again have a free center of learning.
Oh, thank you, Your Majesty. This is the start of a new day for us all.
Very well. I will make the arrangements at once. Stimulate your intellect in the newly reopened Brightwall Academy. Suckle the knowledge from the land's greatest minds and avail yourself of the best library ever assembled. Everyone, from the most impoverished genius to the wealthiest idiot, is welcome. Brightwall Academy. Whatever you earn, it's the place to learn.
Summons Page and Riva. The matter before you today is the future of Bower Lake. Riva will offer his proposal. Page will stand against him.
You may speak.
Your Majesty, a recent survey of Bower Lake has found that the waterbed is rich in valuable metals. Now, as amusing as it would be to make workers hold their breath as they mine these resources, I fear it would be impractical. Instead, we have no choice but to dam the river and drain the lake of all water. Once that is done, we will have a ready-made quarry, ripe for the plucking. It will be a pity to disfigure the landscape so close to my former home, but it is a sensible course of action in light of our current needs.
Bower Lake is the last piece of natural beauty remaining in Bowerstone. It belongs to our history and should be protected. Don't take it away from us. You'll be taking away part of this city's soul with it.
Oh, really?
Now that we've finally freed the people of this city, are we going to destroy the one place they can find peace?
The decision is yours to make, Your Majesty.
Page is right. We must protect our natural resources. Bower Lake is to be left untouched.
king has ruled. Bower Lake's natural beauty is hereby protected by order of the crown.
Thank you. Let's show the world Albion is worth defending.
Is a pretty view worth more than a treasury full of gold? I bow to your greater wisdom. As someone whose home has overlooked the resplendent Bower Lake, I am pleased to declare the official protection of this natural wonder. May its water drown anyone who doesn't appreciate its beauty.
Your Majesty, I've been expecting you. Been through the village, have you? Charming hamlet. It's full of warm, wonderful people who'll give you the shirt off their back and condemn you to death for one simple mistake. Anyone can fall asleep on watch. You exile him into this forest and call it justice? But enough about that. You're here for that statue. It's quite a remarkable thing. It did everything the legend said it would. And now I don't need it anymore. It's funny how things change. So if you want to take it back to that prig in Millfields, it's yours. Nearly free of charge. All I ask is a small favor. Destroy those silver nitrate lanterns. Then the village will get a taste of justice. The choice is yours. And it's a simple one. How simple? If you decline, my brothers will kill you. Ah, well. I suppose it was too much to hope for. Still, your choice won't save the village. Now that I'm the leader of the pack, we've got some brains to go with our brawn. We'll lose a few of the weaker members, but we'll deal with those lanterns on our own. In the meantime, killing you will be a good way to, shall we say, get the blood flowing.
Found it? Oh, I can barely contain my tears. Oh, excuse me, Your Majesty. I can't let you see me this way. And please, make good use of it.
Nobles, always so melodramatic. As for this little item, it is every bit as valuable as I hoped it would be. The profit shall make a welcome addition to the treasury. Unless, of course, well, it is your statue now. You could always opt to keep the proceeds for yourself and administer them as you see fit. What do you wish to do, my king?
Yay! How come the rich are...
A magnanimous gesture indeed. Your subjects are lucky to be ruled by one so giving. As for today's first order of business, you may have heard about the dire situation the kingdom's economy finds itself in. Logan's policies always kept our cities on the edge of bankruptcy, and the panic caused by the fast-approaching darkness has only exacerbated the situation. I'm afraid the only way to stop this slide into ruin is to bail out Bowerstone's financial institutions. The people are looking at you to save them from economic disaster, but remember that doing so may condemn them to a much darker and bloodier fate. What shall we do, Your Majesty? You are such a giving, magnanimous person. Very well, I will make the arrangements.
Today you must decide how much protection to grant Aurora. Kaelin will offer her proposal. Riva will stand against her.
You may speak.
Your Majesty, as you know, the threat from the deserts that surrounds my city has not diminished. The darkness could fall upon us once more at any moment. Aurora is part of your kingdom now, and I ask that you grant us protection. Build a desert outpost that can warn my people should the crawler attack. It shall allow us to leave the city in time and ensure the survival of your loyal subjects.
A desert outpost? outpost? I've never heard such nonsense. What should we do next? Erect taverns under the sea? Plant crops on mountain peaks? It is a foolhardy suggestion. Why should our valiant soldiers suffer sunstroke and chapped lips in a distant land when they could be protecting the people of this very city? Is it really worth risking the lives of all the people outside these walls for a mere alarm system? Of course not. Let us leave the funds and the soldiers where they belong, right here.
The darkness poses a threat to us all. But Aurora has already suffered more than its fair share. The final decision rests with you, Your Majesty.
Aurora is under our protection. It is our duty to build this outpost.
The King's decision is final. A military outpost shall be erected in the deserts that surround Aurora.
We shall not forget this gesture. Aurora thanks you.
Ah, you are a whimsical monarch, and that is why you are so beloved. Very well, it shall be done. Reaver Industries is proud to present an exotic tale of romance, adventure, and sand. The Desert Outpost.
Today, you decide on the fate of Mistpeak, home of the Dwellers, Your Majesty. Sabine will speak for his people and their land. Reaver will dispute his cause.
You may speak.
I come here seeking nothing but what was promised me and my people. You pledged to restore our home mountains and our right to dwell in them. We have fulfilled our end of the bargain. We have paid with our lives to sit you on that throne. Now you must fulfill your end. Undo the damage your brother did to our land, and our agreement shall be satisfied.
Your Majesty, this sounds both an unnecessary expense and an impudent demand. What value is there in a few trees languishing amongst snow and rock? This is not the time to indulge some idyllic fantasy. Those forests are a resource, and we are in dire need of resources. I propose we expand on your brother's initiative and take what nature offers so readily. Say the word, and I will transform the worthless wasteland of Mistpeak into assets we can use to defend Albion.
These hands are not yet so old or weak that I can't wring that pretty little neck of yours, Reaver.
The refined retort of a true mountain goat.
You made a promise to Sabine, but it's up to you whether you decide to honor it.
I will keep my promise to the Dwellers. The Mistpeak Mountains will be restored.
Mistpeak shall become a protected region, and the Dwellers shall be granted authority over its forests and resources.
You are true to your word and your honor. The Dwellers will stand by you till the end.
The forests of Mistpeak are our greatest national treasure, and now, thanks to Reaver Industries, they have returned to their past splendor. Dwellers, birds, and bunnies are free to roam, laugh, and kill each other as nature intended. Who needs all that lumber anyway?